S'il vous plaît, pourriez-vous vous asseoir? S'il vous plaît.
Sit down, please. Second big time of the afternoon, among others, but following Mario Draghi, we have the opportunity to have with us the Minister of Economy and Finance. He's great because he's a great guy, because he's very busy, but like all the ministers of economy always came to X, so he accepted to come for a few. We'll have a 15-minute discussion. So give him a round of applause. Very few, three, four questions, which are very simple, of course. We'll ask him what he feels about the global European and French economic situation, and then we'll talk sovereignty and defense policy. Thank you, Jean-Hervé. Happy to be with you. You know, I've been appointed to the 23rd of December, and before that I used to prepare the Rencontres d'Aix and spend 3 days. You're very happy, and then we'll start again. So what's the global situation, and what do we see when, like me, when you come just before Trump reaching the White House? The world was like a courtyard where everybody is having fun with, people supervising, and three blocks come in, the three guys come there, don't observe the rules, they drop everything, they push kids, they hooligans, the predator world. But this is what's going on, and therefore in reality we are being attacked on all sides. We are attacked at the military level. Ukraine, it's been going on for 3 years. It impacts Europe, of course. We've been attacked on the industrial level by China, which wants to be the world industrial leader, and we are also attacked by the US. So often people say to me, but how come you're still pushed around? We are pushed around because we used to follow the rules of the game. But now we're in a world where the rules of the games are gone, and we adapt ourselves quickly. And if I can get to the question asked by Jean-Hervé, we have to restore a certain number of balances. On the military balance, it's quite difficult. Europe does its best to support Ukraine, the US as well, but it's not the topic today.
So, with a view to the US, United States of America, we need to strike a new balance. The balance is to refocus the debate on a smaller number of topics. The first meeting with Scott Bessent, he wanted us to get rid of the VAT, non-tariff barriers, all kinds of dedicated taxes, and that we would be subject to tariffs of 20%. We managed to negotiate certain subjects. I'll not go over the details, we don't have much time, but today we are down to the issue of tariffs, a pivotal question. I think that on the other elements we managed to recover an acceptable playground, but on tariffs it should be finalized this year. We have a delegation in Washington right now. I hope we strike an agreement this weekend, otherwise Europe will have to make proof of much more vigor in its reply to restore the balance. And the third topic, which is connected, is that of China and our industry. And there I'm aware of taking the floor after Mario Draghi. We have to change the rules of the European games, because in the world as it is today, we need to protect our industry. We've done that by building custom barriers. Yes, Europe is building barriers. We did that with steel. We have to strengthen those barriers. We did that with the automobile industry. And of course, we got a result with the tariffs on cognac, but we have to do that on all our industrial segments. Otherwise, the Chinese policy that consists in each industrial segment to have the production capacity that goes beyond 50% of the world market will kill our industry. And if on top we have the US with the custom barriers, then we're really in trouble. So we're in this at this moment of a total change in our tools, and this total change, we're convinced with the President of the Republic and the Prime Minister, we need to bring along our European friends in this movement. And we're lucky, sometimes we're lucky, the new German coalition with which we are very close, and we have a very close relationship. And just in 1 week I spent a full week in Berlin to find a political agenda that's as dynamic as possible with Lorsky Bal, who's the head of the SPD, Minister of Finance, and Katarina Reiche, who's the Minister of Economy and Industry. And we must in Europe support this transformation agenda. If we manage to do all this, if we achieve this, France and European society maintains its growth, and but you know, in the last months our growth was sort of like dropping. Unemployment is resisting, but it's urgent to re-establish this barrier, these protections. And the last point, it's absolutely critical to restore the economic balance here. We're in a historic moment, not because we're an ex, because last night, since yesterday, we borrow at a higher rate than Italy, simply because Italy made the readjustment and because we didn't do it in a credible fashion. So it's imperative that the 2026 budget, and sorry to talk about these topics in July while people are not really interested, but we have to restore this budgetary balance, because the debt charge is 65 billion. It will be 100 billion euros. So if we don't stabilize the debt, we will lose all sovereignty capacity. I think that was your next question. If we don't stabilize the debt, we will lose our capacity to invest and prepare the future. And so for this, we need to make a particular effort. It was done in history to stabilize our public spendings. We have 57% of public expenditures and spendings over the GDP. It's not sustainable. It's not. We can't. It's not by raising taxes that we can solve the problem. The Prime Minister will develop this on the 5th of July. I don't want to conclude here. I don't want to spend the 15 minutes on this, but all these questions are essential. There's no majority at the government. We don't have a majority, but it's a national interest topic to restore at the world, European, and national level. We work with all the parties. We're redoing what we did in January to have the law on finance adapted. With Émilie Montchanet, we are meeting with all the parties. We've started that. We will have seen all of them before the presentation of the 15th of July by the Prime Minister. There will be a mock-up presented by the Prime Minister. We'll continue our discussions in September, and I think that the urgency that we're faced with and the vital interest of the country to restore our public accounts should enable us to reach a global agreement, enabling us to really engage the restoration, the economic recovery, along with the energy and ecological items. So I don't want to be longer, but just wanted to sort of like go over all these topics in a nutshell. Yes, well, congratulations. And thank you for what you're doing, but maybe we could let's see how we can react over this. The commitments we took in terms of defense and the increase of spendings in defense, knowing that France is one of the 2 or 3 countries that are very talented in this sector. Is that positive? Can that be positive in terms of impact, that we have to rearm our economy in a world of predators? That's what I said, and we need to protect our sovereignty. And we see that our sovereignty is attacked on the industrial standpoint and military standpoint. I think I covered the industrial aspect with the industrial tools that we have in Europe, but we have to be reorganized on military aspects. What happened last week in The Hague is very important. The Americans, the U.S., explained clearly that the strategic uncertainties were part of their approach, and that without the strategic uncertainty, which made us doubt that they're still along with us in the West, had pushed us to readjust our budgets and commit to increase our spendings in defense. So the U.S. reasserted their support to NATO, to Ukraine, and the strategic alliance with the U.S. Exists through the dialogue that we have all around the world. But despite all, we have the obligation to defend, to develop our own sovereignty. The Americans won't cover that for us, and there was a very important movement when the EU decided on its defense program. It was adopted unanimously, 27 states. So we have to be organized inside NATO to have an operational defense system, and chiefly in the rearmament that's very necessary to ensure peace. It must be dissuasive. We don't want to talk about strategy here, but we know that we see that the nuclear defense, deterrence that enable to protect France as a whole, it does not work with the wars that we see today in Ukraine or in Iran. Russia invaded Ukraine, and it stayed at the convention level. And what happened in Iran and Israel is more or less the same. So the conventional war is necessary. If we want to prevent that, we need to have the means to respond. And this changes totally our organization, our weapons, and our defense system, and should rely on our defense industry. I see the presidents and chairman of people who are active in defense here. So all our companies have to be more European in their location and the equipment they provide to our defense forces. The Rafale and those countries who have the F-35, the weapons that are sold by the U.S., we can only use them if they agree. In terms of sovereignty, that's not. It's not up to par. So there's a lot of shifts, the changes we have to bring to reestablish our sovereignty in all fields. The good news is now there's a European awareness of all this, and I will conclude by talking about the COFIN meeting that was held in Warsaw. Two interesting things that were discussed there. First of all, we have reestablished a link with our historical partners that are no longer in Europe. Great Britain as one, and Norway. And like I told my British partner during the G20, in a difficult period, France and Great Britain are together again. It's reassuring, and we're tightening our relationships between Europeans. And our Polish counterpart, Polanski, said, yes, okay, we're in Warsaw, we're 280 kilometers from the Russian border. And everything's set. So we're in this new world that I consider positively. We're forced to take into account the new context. And if you have a last question? Yeah, a last question. You established a link with Mario Draghi. Can we hope, notably as far as the financing of defense or on other topics, that we can have the same operation as we had in COVID, the mutualization of the debt, and a new way of dealing with such issues? Well, a careful answer here, prudent. There's a European program that's called FACE that will raise 150 billion euros to finance the armament of defense in Europe. The debt in Europe and France is always a debt. I said that we want to stabilize the debt, so it's not necessarily a solution for us. But we'll have time to talk about the French effort in defense. But what I wanted to say in a more general fashion is that I find this environment as incredibly positive for Europe and for France. Why? Because all this is quite motivating. It will lead to investments, the development of our companies, our enterprises. And I see Europe in the world. We traveled a lot with the President of the Republic in the recent months, because the balance of our relationship and friendships in the world is changing. And all the countries, and not the three bad guys that I mentioned, they want to have better ties. So countries I visited, I went 3 times in Abu Dhabi, once instance, in Singapore, they have a lot of savings. And they say Europe is a place where we can invest. Because if we look at things mirroring, in a mirror, we are states that respect law, that abide by the rule, that we're profoundly democratic. We're the first market in the world. Commercial, we're the place where an investor must invest if he's trying to figure out where he should invest his money in the world. And if we convince them, this is what those countries will do. And we hear this when we visit these countries, when we see that even Canada, which is geographically farther away, but they want to join us in our defense efforts. This will make us, help us to make progress and to finalize the European project and implement the report that Mr. Dagui presented before. So we have to be positive. It's an optimistic message, and we will manage to the benefit of all. So you can give a big hand to the minister. It's great to hear such optimism and hear a lot of punch in his speech. And our minister really said a lot in 16 minutes. Thank you. Nearly everything. Thank you.